Now let's talk about X-Force. Oh my goodness. I mean, Domino was absolutely awesome. We were talking about how great Firefist was. Joshua, why don't you start with this one and tell us what you thought about the X-Force?
So obviously this was the big fake out of the movie, because from the trailers, I'm like getting pumped, like all these like Rob Liefeld characters are in there, Shatterstar's in there, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then of course they just one after the other just die in horrific ways. It was probably
even poor Peter.
It was probably the funniest part of the movie, and it kept getting just so bad, especially with Zeitgeist vomiting the acid on Peter and him dying. I didn't know what to do with myself. I almost like stood up and was like, stop, like I can't take it anymore. It was so funny, such a great misdirect, because you thought it was going to be this, kick butt X-Force realization on the full screen, and totally not. They played it for a joke.
Did you guys see that coming at all? Like, I seriously did not see that coming.
A couple of people pointed out to me that it's kind of MacGruber kind of did that, but a lot of people didn't see MacGruber initially. But I will say, I thought it was great that they actually went there and they built it up so much with a lot of that almost cliche team building stuff of them, one, getting the team together, and there's always like some like stuff of people on a cargo plane, sitting around. Even Suicide Squad did that, and there's like, so there's always those kind of moments, and the fact that it's like, yeah, it's over. They're all dead now.
Okay, so let's talk about Domino. I thought that Zazie Beetz stole the show. I really did. She was going toe-to-toe with Josh Brolin, Ryan Reynolds. Those are great actors. Did you guys feel the same way? I mean, I really felt she held her own.
Yeah, I thought she was great. I mean, and I love, too, how they took a character where even in the movie they're saying, how cinematic is this? And you then see how cinematic awesome it actually is. And yeah, so I thought she brought in a whole new sort of vibe to the movie, in a sort of way to like have a cool character, keep it funny, but like she can actually like kick ass and do all these other things. It's not just somebody else to have who's there to have a joke made at their expense.
Joshua, was she really similar to what we see in the comics? Did you like her interpretation?
I like the interpretation, even though it wasn't like in the comics, where she's a bit more serious, and they don't really show her powers off quite like that. I was so surprised and delighted by how they gave her the big cinematic moments with all the luck, and even that fight scene where a heavy refrigerator or something like fell on that guy's head and decapitated. I was like, oh my god. It was a delight, and she was a delight. It was absolutely wonderful. Yeah, playing off the other actors and everything, really holding her own. The one thing I wasn't quite sold on is like they tried to like tie her in. She's like, oh, I used to go to this origin as well. Or sorry, this orphanage as well, as sort of like giving her an origin that loops in with everything else going on in the movie. She didn't really have like an emotional hook that was really strong for me, even though I did enjoy her presence throughout.
Maybe that would have been accentuated with like a flashback or something. I agree with you. I remember I heard that part and I was like, okay, they just threw that in trying to like add some connection here, and I was just kind of like, no, that didn't work. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe they were just doing that too for like, she's in there and doing all this action stuff and people getting killed around her to make it feel like it landed some little bit more, and also to show that these guys have been bad guys for a while. Like Essex has been up to this bad for a while, and that they, so that they've had it coming, kind of thing.
Okay, I'd like to talk about Julian Dennison as Firefist. I mean, I think the kid's hilarious. I think he's incredibly talented, and I thought he owned it. Joshua?
No, yeah, 100%. He that Australian accent really just coming through.
New Zealand, but
New Zealand accent.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew I was going to say something wrong.
That's okay.
Yeah, really just gave him this like kind of weird charm, even though he was out to like murder people. And his powers you don't think a guy who can shoot like flames out of his fist to be that threatening, but he was doing some serious damage. And then he was also there with the humor as well, with like the pen and everything.
Oh gosh,
yeah. So I thought he held his own, and he was an interesting, emotional crux for Deadpool, who, wanted to have a baby with Vanessa at the beginning. Obviously, that didn't work out, so he sort of became his surrogate son, and we kind of knew where they were going, but I like how they sort of landed that emotional punch at the end of him deciding that, like, I have to care for this person like I would of my own son, as like a tribute to Vanessa.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. I mean, he was playing a character that's not dissimilar in terms of personality, but really heightened to the like nth degree that he played in Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yes, yeah.
Right down to having like this kind of grizzled mentor kind of character. But I thought he brought so much kind of nuance to different things, and he played wonderfully off of Ryan Reynolds. And you could believe why Josh Brolin would feel like this kid is going to grow up to be a threat. Like, if left unchecked, like that anger and that level of just being hurt. So when you do see that I guess flash forward scene when they're in Cable's home and in the adult version of him shows up, like he is a threat. So I thought he was great.
So do you think that we will see more of Firefist in the future or not?
I think so.
You think they'll bring him back?
I think
Yeah,
he
I
could
don't
show up
know.
because in the first movie I remember there was so much Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Loved her. Barely in this movie.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, she has a girlfriend now. Cool. And then she showed up in the beginning and then at the end to do her power once, and then she was out. So I don't know if they've kind of like spent all of their creative. I don't know what
Only
metaphor I'm
one
going
sullen
for here.
teenager per movie?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
exactly.
There'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
a new angry teen. Well, in Julian Dennison, by the time they actually do another one, he's going to be grown up.
Yeah, you're right. He'll
So-
be much older.
He'll have
now.
Neville Longbottomed. He'll grow up into a really fit, a good-looking person. He won't be like a tubby, sad person.
He's going to look like Jason Momoa.
Neville
in about-
Longbottom. Hey, who knows? What do you guys want to see happen with the X-Force? Like, I think Domino is definitely going to be in future movies, obviously. Anybody else that you think we could bring on? Especially you, because you know so many interpretations of the X-Force.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like, my favorite version of the X-Force has a lot of X-Men on it. It's got like Psylocke and Archangel and Phantom X. There's this run by Rick Remender called Uncanny X-Force that is just phenomenal and it has to do with Apocalypse and stuff. I don't see that ever coming to the theater, but I would like a few X-Men to show up just to give maybe a little more name value. I know it kind of gets its charm from using kind of B and C-list characters that general audiences haven't heard of, but I would like to see some X-Men show up and have become like a Black Ops squad of X-Men who go on like missions that the regular X-Men who are very noble and heroic would not normally touch.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Well, no, I'd love to, they don't necessarily have to stick with characters who were in the lineups from the comics, but I think, they open the door here with Shatterstar and these sort of ridiculous, more cosmic characters.
Yeah.
Does that mean then like a Longshot could show up or like any of these other kind of X-Men characters that were really more out there? And like, I think that could be fun. Like, or even bring in like a Captain Britain or in some of the Excalibur characters and just have fun with that. Maybe they go to another country, who knows,